The internet is a crazy place. I mean, I think we all know that by now. I mean, just extremes on every issue. There's someone on this side, and then there's someone, I mean, just completely 100% opposed on this side. And sometimes that doesn't feel like it leaves a lot of room for people in the middle to kind of like, well, I can see those points and I can see these points. That's kind of where I live. I sort of live in the middle for the most part. And when it comes to these, I feel like I'm probably also sort of in the middle. I mean, these are the new 4Ks from Jim Cameron. You've got Aliens, you've got The Abyss, you've got True Lies, and look, I'm just gonna give you my honest opinion on what I think about these, and hopefully that gives you an idea of maybe whether or not you want to pick these up. So let's talk about it. First off, let's talk about True Lies. It was the first one that I watched. It's also my least favorite of the three movies. It's not that this movie's bad. It's just that I'm not a huge fan. I'm just not a huge fan of this movie. I like it. I do like it quite a bit. But it's just not, my favorite of the James Cameron movies. It's not my favorite Arnold movie. Yeah, it's a movie. It's a movie, all right. But I'll tell you, this one, I enjoyed watching the movie again. I mean, it's probably been, I don't know, 10, 15 years since I've seen it. I enjoyed going through it again. But this one is the only one of the three where I found something distracting. The most egregious scene, in my opinion, is the scene which, if you've seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Arnold has just found his wife with, Bill Paxton's character, Simon, and he's walking out. He almost gets run over by a bus. Tom Arnold pulls him aside, and he's like, yeah, what's going on? What's going on? And he's like, all this. And then Tom Arnold's like, welcome to the club, man. She's cheating on him, right? Cheating on him. And he tells us this whole thing about, what kind of a sick bitch takes the ice cube trays out of the freezer. It's a great scene. It's funny. The problem is, I feel like this is the scene where they tested things. This is like the first scene that they did. I'm not saying that it is. It's just the way that it seems, because it's the only scene in the movie that sticks out this much, where Tom Arnold looks completely shiny and waxy, and it's distracting. It was like, whoa, that's really like egregious. Like, that's not good. But again, the movie moves on from there, and you kind of just get back into the movie. And I gotta say, it's not that big of a deal to me. The other character that it seems that where this is affected is with Jamie Lee Curtis. There are a couple of shots, mainly when she's talking to her coworker about Arnold Schwarzenegger, right, Harry. And she's like, all I got to do is, ask him about his day, and within 60 seconds, I'm asleep, right? That whole scene, for some reason, that looks really waxy and really artificial to me. It really stuck out as being like, whoa. And then I think there's a scene where she's sitting at the table and her face looks really waxy, but again, it's nothing as egregious as that first scene that it really stuck out to me with Arnold Schwarzenegger. That one, not great. But again, this is like, I don't know, 95% of the movie that doesn't look like this. So, I mean, it's just the truth. That's the way I viewed it. Now, this is a movie that I've never, but as far as I know, I've never owned this movie before. I don't have the original DVD or apparently there's a Mexican bootleg on Blu-ray that is, I guess, less processed than this one. But I mean, again, I'm sitting there watching it and I'm going, I'm enjoying the movie. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm just an idiot, which is possible. Look, it's possible. But I just don't think so. I think that I'm watching it as a person in 2024 watching a 4K Blu-ray. And all I can say is, yeah, it's not bad. Now, the next movie is The Abyss. Now, you want to talk about egregious and things that suck. The labels, these things, right? These things that are on the front. It's on 4K. Yeah, we get it. We know. The labels are horrible. This one just would not come off. And I'm going to have to get Goog on and try to get rid of that. But yeah, you want to talk travesty. that is a travesty. This day and age, I mean, come on, we don't have adhesive that can't peel off correctly, but this is a movie that I did own on DVD. This is the Abyss Special Edition on DVD. This is the last time that this movie was available on home video. So yeah, I have it. I really like the Abyss. I would say that the Abyss is probably, of the three, it's my second favorite of these three. But yeah, I enjoyed watching it. Oh, and by the way, Target, when they shipped the 4K Blu-ray, that was the way that it came. So I was kind of bummed out. But look, it's not a huge deal. But look, here's the thing. This was shocking to me because I've seen this movie quite a few times back in the day, and it was a different experience. It felt more modern than True Lies did. True Lies still kind of, to me, it almost retains that mid '90s look. Just really, really sharp. The Abyss looks like it was shot yesterday. I mean, it looks insanely good. I mean, now when we get to the effects, that's a completely different story. The effects still look like effects from the late '80s, but it's still it was very impressive to me. And I sat there and I watched it and I enjoyed it. I watched most of the video special features, if not all. And this is something that I haven't done for the Abyss in a very, very long time. So yeah, I enjoyed it, and I do not see why people are calling this like a travesty. I don't understand it, because I'm sitting there watching it and I'm going, yeah, it looks good. I'm enjoying it. Now we get to Aliens, and you can see that I was able to peel that sticker off with no issue. But yeah, Aliens is definitely my favorite of the three. It's I still think I prefer, as I've gotten older, I prefer the original Alien more than Aliens, but this is still a fantastic movie, and it's one of those that, I mean, what hasn't been said about Aliens? But I noticed a lot of interesting, I wouldn't say changes. It's not like the Star Wars Special Edition. I mean, let's be honest, when you're talking about, directors going in and changing things, I don't know. I don't know. I don't get it about this, but the Star Wars Special Edition, that's something different. Here, I'm talking about changes to the audio mix and little changes just to make things a little cleaner. And what I mean is, there's a scene, you may or may not remember this, but there's a scene where Ripley and Newt are in the I guess the sort of a medical bay, and it's locked, and the face huggers are in there, and they're trying to get out, and she's like hitting the window with a chair. Okay, well, being the continuity person that I am, I'd noticed this as a kid, that there's one hit of the chair that makes a mark on the glass. Well, there's like a shot of her hitting it, the mark is there, and then it cuts to a different angle, and then when you cut back, the mark is not there, and then she right then makes the mark that you just saw in the previous shot, if that makes sense. So basically, those different hits were filmed out of order, and it was something I always noticed. For some reason, I don't know. Now I was watching the special edition version, the longer version. Maybe it's got different takes of her hitting the glass, but all I can say is the mark appears when it needs to, instead of being there, then disappearing, and then showing up again, if that makes any sense. But then also, prior to that scene, there's a little conversation between Ripley and Newt, and they're speaking very softly. So you can tell the mics are turned up, okay? And they're having this sort of quiet conversation about, oh, there's no bad dreams in there, right? And she's like, that's just a piece of plastic, right? And then the scene starts to wrap up, and she's like, across my heart, hope to die, all that stuff, right? And then Newt jumps up real quick and hugs her. And I always remembered, it was so loud, the sound of the clothes, the blanket, whatever, rubbing up against the mics and making this sound when they hug, and it was always distracting to me. They turned it down in this version, and it actually sounds a little more natural. It's still there, but it's more natural, and I liked it. I was like, hey, that's a cool little change. I like that. It's pretty good. But when it comes to the look of this, it is very different. It is very different than what you remember on the Alien Anthology. I don't know if anybody has this, but these are the Blu-rays of the entire set of 4 original Alien movies. Yeah, the look of the movie is, it's different. It's a more, I would say, a more modern image, a more modern coloring. This, I would say that Aliens almost looked like a mid 80s kind of almost grungy looking, dirty, I would say, muddy. I maybe is a better way to describe the look of it. But it always looked kind of muddy to me. Does it now? It does it now. It looks really sharp and, to my eyes, really nice. I mean, I think it looks great. I think it really looks great. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that talk about the film grain. Film grain, film grain, film grain. James Cameron got rid of the film grain. On previous commentaries, he's talked about how much he hates film grain. Okay, here's the thing. Most people don't like film grain. Okay? I'm not disagreeing with those people that miss the film grain. I'm just trying to tell you that at most audiences today, if you showed them 2 scenes side by side, one with film grain and then the same scene with the film grain removed, most people will pick the image where the film grain was removed. And they talk about film preservation and things like that. This might ruffle some feathers, but I'll just say it. I don't think that these are the important movies that need to be preserved as much as, say, Lawrence of Arabia or, Casablanca, things like that. The look of these, it's definitely a more mainstream product. They're more mainstream movies, which means you have to go with the mainstream when it comes to the look of the movie. And that's what they did. And then I've heard some people say, well, why didn't they just release 2 versions, one with film grain and one without? Because that's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money to produce 2 versions. To have it on the same disc would require a lot more space, which means a bigger Blu-ray that they would have to purchase for each. It doesn't make sense. So what you would do is you would go for, at least from a marketing standpoint, or not even marketing, more of a production standpoint, you go with the version that's going to be the most pleasing to the most people. And this includes, because this isn't just for 4K, this is for the digital versions as well, right? The digital versions where, let's be honest, this day and age, most people are going to watch these movies digitally than they will off of a disc. I mean, that's just the truth. So in that case, what would you do? Do you leave all the film grain in, or do you take it out? You take it out is what you do. Now, don't misunderstand me here, okay? Because a lot of people might take what I just said and go, that doesn't, you hate film grain. No, I don't. I like film grain. I even would say that in the case like these 3 movies, what I would have preferred happen is that they take a new 4K negative, which apparently some of these come from multiple sources that weren't a new 4K negative. But anyway, you start with a 4K negative. You clean up, the cuts in the film or the scratches, all of those things. You take all that out. You restore the movie, right? And then you time it with Dolby Vision, HDR, all that stuff, and you release the movie. That's what I would do, right? I wouldn't necessarily go for this extreme film grain removal sort of thing. I wouldn't do that. But it's not up to me. And it's not up to most of you. I think most people that are going to watch this, in fact, let's just be honest, all the people that are going to watch this have nothing to do with production when it comes to 4K Blu-rays. So it's not up to us. And from their standpoint, it makes more sense that if more people don't like film grain and you want to release these big mainstream older movies to try to grasp a new audience, you're going to go with the less film grain. You're going to try to please the most people possible. And that's kind of the way companies work, right? I mean, you try to maximize profit. That's how you do it. I guess when it comes down to it is I enjoy these. I like these, and I'm glad that I own them. There's going to be people that are going to tell you not to buy them. And if you don't want to buy them because you want to preserve like the original vision of the film, then do that. Just don't buy them if you don't want to, because there's going to be people that prefer this image to the old image. I'll tell you this, that I will never probably watch the Aliens Blu-ray ever again, because I prefer the way that the sharpness, the clarity, everything, the color, the sound, the updates, I enjoy them, And like I said, I would have preferred a more hands-off approach, but for what we got, I really enjoy it. That's I don't know. That's all I can say, I guess. So I know that there's going to be a lot of people that disagree with what I have to say, but look, let's just keep it civil, in the comment section. If you wanna tell me, all these things, sure, let's talk about it, but let's keep it civil. I mean, come on, I'm not, destroying film history by buying a $25 4K Blu-ray, and I don't think James Cameron is either, but again, we can discuss it down in the comment section. But I would love to hear if you got these, what you thought of them. And yeah, like I said, let's just keep it civil. But anyway, thank you guys for watching this, and we'll see you on the next one.